in this series, I am going to teach you how to create a repo in GitHub, and then we're going to use Claude in this case, but we can use any AI model. And we're going to use the AI to build a website, or you can build apps or whatever. But the goal of this week is I want to show you how to build using how to push that code. So we need read and write access to GitHub. And then I want to show you how you can have that code built into a website or an app inside of Cloudflare. So the point of this training is I want to show you how you can be self hosting your vibe coded websites. Now, typically, if you go to something like Lovable, you're going to connect GitHub anyway, because GitHub allows you to use AI to build the code. It pushes it to GitHub, and then you can give your developer access to GitHub. You can share the code with other people. You can manage your projects. All of that can be done inside of GitHub. But if you're like using, let's say, high level, and you build your site in high level, you have to give someone access to your high level account for them to be able to access that funnel. Now, what if you also wanted to rebuild that site somewhere outside of high level? Then you would have to literally rebuild the site because you don't have the code. If the code is living inside of GitHub, you could literally in 5 minutes open up Cloudflare, open up Vercel, open up wherever else that you want to build it, connect it to Git, and then the system will just build the whole system for you, build the whole website or app or whatever it is that you're using. And that's why GitHub is such a valuable bridge for us. Now, there's so many things that you can use with GitHub. That's why I wanted to really introduce you and show you just one particular use case. Now, this setup that I'm teaching you this week is the setup that I am using for my own funnels for lead magnets. If you guys can imagine taking the power of Claude Cowork, connecting to Cloudflare and GitHub, you can pump out some massive funnels and content and all of that, and it just automatically gets built for you. You also don't have the extreme overhead of tokens and credits like software like Lovable, right? This process I'm going to show you, the only thing that you actually need to pay for is Claude. So we're going to use Claude to build it. That's the AI involved here. And then we're pushing that to GitHub, and then we're going to push that to Cloudflare, and all of that is done automatically. And it's not just the first build. You can continuously make updates to your funnels or websites or app or whatever it is that you're using. And as soon as it updates inside of GitHub, it automatically updates in the host, in this case, Cloudflare. So enough talking, let's dive in. Now you will see some similarities here in this process, and that's on purpose because, like I said, I teach you what I'm doing, and this is my exact process and the tools that I'm using to do this. And like I said, we're going to be using GitHub, but GitHub is free. I have many repositories. I still have not paid for GitHub. Also, we're going to use Supabase, and Supabase is free up to a certain point. Once you really start using it, you're going to have to start paying for it, but most of you guys are just going to be at the free level, and it's totally fine, right? All right, so give Claude safe access to your Git. Now, before I get into this, when I say safe access, there is a Claude connector. So if you go into your Claude account and you go to customize and you go to connectors, you will see this GitHub connection here. Now you do need to be on the paid plan of Claude to connect GitHub or any here. The thing with this though is that it only gives you read access to your GitHub, meaning Claude can only, or whatever AI model you're using, it can only read files in GitHub. But for us to actually use Claude to build things, we need to be able to have read and write access. And that's what I'm going to show you how to get today. So like I said, connect this if you want to, but it's only going to be read access. All right. Now, that's what I want to show you how to do today is to build that read and write access inside inside of Claude. So just to explain to you what GitHub is a free website where your code lives. So think of it as a safe home base for your website, or like I was saying, like a bridge. So it's the builds it in GitHub. GitHub is housing the code, and then we can have any other model build it from GitHub, right? Almost, there's so many things that connect to GitHub. And I know that the high level vibe coder, I know that the GitHub integration is coming soon. So this will be the same process, right? If you are connecting to GitHub and you use an AI to push code to GitHub, then the builder should recognize the new commit, is what it's called, and then it should build that code, right? This should happen on autopilot. That's why this is such a cool thing. The basics, a repo, that's basically the project or the folder for a particular or folder for a project. I cannot speak today. I guess I've been on vacation too much. And a commit is a saved version of your work. So we're creating a repo or a repository, and that's the folder where our project or our website is going to live. And then every time we commit something to GitHub, that's the saved version, right? So if you think of a standard website builder, we're actually building it. And then when we commit, we're saving that version. All right. Now, a push sends your latest work up to GitHub. So we're building inside of Claude or whatever it is that we're using. And then we push those changes to GitHub. And then the commit is when those are saved. This is free to use. Now, what can you use it for? Back up your code on the cloud, keep every version of your work, and work with a team on one project. You also can feed the builders that put your site live. So think of it like GitHub is a bridge. You build on one side, you can walk your website over to any builder on the other side. You're never locked into one tool. So now when you start setting up your Supabase account and GitHub, you want to be thoughtful of the names that you're using. And so I wanted to add this part in here just to give you an idea of a naming convention that you can use, because we want to make sure that when we're naming things, it's easy for us to recognize what it is, but also for the AI to recognize what it is. So if we were building a bio link, we could name it link bio. We could name the repo link bio, the token name that we're going to put, and this will make much more sense to you when we go into Supabase, but you'll have the token name, and then you'll have the secrets, and the secrets need to be in capital letters. And again, this will all make so much more sense just in a couple minutes. So the nickname you're going to use for the repo, the token, and the secrets. Repos stay lowercase, secrets are in caps. And again, I'll explain that to you in just a second. So why this matters: when you build your second and third site, each one has its own match set. So you never mix up which key opens up which repo. This is really important. And so neither does Claude, because the last thing you want to do is have multiple projects in one repository or be unclear about the names of the repositories. And then when you give access to Claude, if you give access to all of your repositories because you have multiple different projects that you're working in, if it doesn't know which way to make the changes to, you could get into some trouble where you're mixing things up. So we definitely want to make sure that when we are setting this up, that we are aware of how it needs to be positioned now, but also in the future for additional projects. Meaning, let's say this is for a link bio that you're creating, but maybe you have a client project that you want to reference, and that would have its own Git in its own name. Also, make your repo and token. So let me stop here and let's go over to GitHub, because what you want to do is you want to create your GitHub account and you want to create a new repository. So here I am in GitHub. Like I said, it's free to create. Now I want to create a repository here, and this is my demo account. So if we go back to our sheet here, it says sign into GitHub, which we did, click new, which I just did, and name your repo. We're going to just call it this. So I'm going to go back to here and let's just name it this. and it's available. Now, the next thing, we want to make this private. Now, there are some times that you would want to make your repository public, like if you have a lot of skills that you want to share with other people. A lot of developers do that so that they can get leads, and actually GitHub has a whole profile and all this other stuff. You don't need to know any of that. You just want to make sure that this is marked as private, and then go ahead and click create the repository. All right. Now, I'm not going to give you a whole in-depth training on any of these things because you really don't need to know all this extra stuff. You just need to know the things that I'm going to tell you today so that you can get all of this set up. So now we've set up our Git repository. Now, what we need to do, we've created the repository, open up the token settings. So what I'm going to do, click your photo, then settings, then developer settings. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to click the photo, settings, and then all the way down here, developer settings. And what's the next step here? Then find grain tokens, click generate new token. Okay, so I'm going to go click here, find grained tokens. And I'm going to click here to generate a new token. Now, I do need to verify my email address. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Gmail. And I have my code here. So I'm going to grab this, go back now, paste in the code and verify. And now I have access to my fine-grained personal access token. So now what I need to do is I'm going to name this link bio repo token. Let's go back here now. I'm going to paste in the name and let's see what it says next. Set an expiration date like 90 days. So let's go back and you'll see here the expiration date. Let's set it for 90 days. You do have the option to set it at no expiration. Use this at your own risk. 90 days is what is typically recommended so that you go back and refresh it just for security reasons. But if you're happy with no expiration, you certainly can do that. All right. Now, if we go back here, you'll see choose only select repositories and click or pick link. So you'll see here, we can either select the public repositories, all repositories, or only select one. So if you do want to just create one secret or one access for all of them, you certainly could. But I encourage you when you're setting this up for AI, don't do that. Be very specific about the repository that you want to access, because as you start using this, you'll understand more why. Just make sure that you're really only giving access to one specific, okay, in this scenario. So now I have added that I want this token to access. Now, if I go back to my cheat sheet here, it says read and write. So this is the part that makes this setup different from the actual connectors inside of Claude. So I need to go to repository permissions. So you'll see here, I'm going to add permissions. You'll see in the instructions here, set contents to read, write, click generate token and copy it. Now this is important because GitHub only shows this one time. So let's go back here now. Let's go to contents and you'll see read only, but we want read and write. Now this is required, so you can't change that. I'm going to go ahead and click here to generate the token. Click here to go ahead and generate. All right, so this is now my token. And I could technically give this to Claude right now, and it would be able to access this. However, as I've talked to you guys so many times before, the same with our high-level private integration token, anything that we're sharing with AI that is secure like this, because this is basically a direct connection to your GitHub, we certainly don't want to give that to people, right? So we need to now have a bridge that is a secure bridge between Claude and GitHub, and that is Supabase. So like I told you guys before, when you create your Supabase account, you'll have a project here. I can go inside of this project. Oh, it looks like I'm going to go ahead and resume because this is my demo account. It says that it was paused. Hopefully it doesn't make me have to go in a bunch of wonky places. Okay, so we're going to go to Edge Functions and we're going to go to Secret. So here is what is going to keep that token private. All right, so I'm going to scroll down here and you'll see what we need to do inside of Supabase. If you don't have a Supabase account, you just go to supabase.com and you can create your free account. So once you do that, we're going to go to Edge Functions. So you can see I went to, let's go Edge Functions. All right, and we're going to Secrets. We're going to add a new secret, and the name of this secret, keep in mind, it's all caps. And we're putting underscores because we don't want any spaces. Go back now, and we're just going to name this link bio GitHub token. So now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to copy this and go back to Supabase and paste it here. So if you guys are following along, all we did was create a repo in GitHub. We created a private access token, and we're putting that token in Supabase because now what we need to do is we need to connect Supabase to Claude. Now, the reason that we're doing this workaround, like I said, is because we need to make sure that we are keeping everything secure. And learning this process is not like a one-off process. As you can see, we use the same process here to store our high-level private integration and location ID. So this process is how you really want to work with AI and build your system in a secure way, because Supabase is what like encrypts the information. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save this here. So now we have created that part. Now you'll see we need to add another secret, and this secret is going to be simply the name of our repo. Now, this isn't technically secure. We don't really have to have the name in the repo, but it does help when we are referencing things inside of Claude to say, check the Supabase, and then the Supabase will, or Claude will see link bio, and then it will pull in that info because it needs to know the token and the name of the repository. So now I'm going to go back and we're going to create another name here, and then I need to type in what repository name is. So you can do like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and set it here and save. All right. So now we have the name of our repo and the token to access the repo. So why is this safer? Your token now lives in Supabase, not in a chat. Claude can use it to build your site without ever seeing the key again. Now, what we need to do, like I said, is connect Claude to Supabase. So how do we do that? We go into our, and again, you need to have a paid account. We're going to browse and you'll see if you type in Supabase that we have this option here to connect to Supabase. So I would just click here to connect, and it will prompt me to log in to Supabase. Now, I can't do this because I am on a free account, but that's all you have to do to connect to. Now, once you have the GitHub repo created, you have given the token to Supabase, you've connected Supabase to Claude, then what you want to do is go into your Claude account. You're going to paste this here just to make sure that it reads it and understands that you connected this to Supabase so that it can look there to reference what it is that you are building and to push. It not only can read the code, but it can also push new code that you build.